League of Legends is dying. Have you heard that before? Overwatch is gonna kill League of Legends. Fortnite's going to kill League of Legends. PUBG is gonna kill League of Legends. Twitch IRL is going to kill League of Legends. For the last decade, people have been constantly predicting the eventual downfall of this game. Yet every single fad, trend comes and goes with the wind. But League of Legends continues to hold its position as the world's #1 esport. There are also a ton of videos out there titled "Why League of Legends is Going to Die." For the purposes of this video, I went ahead and watched every single one of them, and I can tell you definitively that every single one of them is wrong. Pretty much everyone's complaints can be broken down into a few specific issues. Game balance is bad, there's too much toxicity, matchmaking issues, and of course, North America is bad at Worlds. I've been in the League scene for over 10 years, and none of these issues are new. League has never been designed to be balanced, it's designed to be addictive. Toxic players exist in every single competitive multiplayer game, and NA always chokes as hard as an ASMR girl on OnlyFans. Look, none of these issues are new. Every single game has its problems, and every single game has different problems. But League's problems don't really affect its popularity whatsoever. The fact is that League of Legends is not only not dying, it's actually still growing by a significant amount. You look at the viewership for Worlds this year, it had a record-breaking 5 million viewers, up from the 4 million from last year. The idea that League of Legends is dying is just not reflected whatsoever in its own numbers. All of the issues that people have been talking about, Riot is aware of these issues, and they know they need to fix them. Yes, they don't get everything perfect on the first try, and they fumble a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, Riot is still trying to fix all of these major issues. And that's really what kept the game alive for so long. It's Riot's willingness to fix things very quickly. If something is completely game-breaking and destroys the entire ecosystem, then Riot will probably either disable or nerf it within a few days. The main issue that we're talking about today has nothing to do with any of the things that I've already mentioned. What we're talking about is something that Riot genuinely cannot really fix. It's almost like a prophecy of Ragnarok. The end will come one day, and there's nothing that they can do. The bigger that League of Legends becomes, the harder it will be to solve this issue for Riot Games. Today, we're going to be talking about why there will eventually come a day when Riot releases the very last champion. This is League of Documentary. This video is sponsored by Loot Boy. Loot Boy is a new way to earn things in-game. Do you enjoy Hextech boxes? Do you like orbs? Well, instead of just directly buying RP, you can buy Loot Boy packs instead now. Loot Boy is a site that sells packs of cards containing items that you can use to get RP, the most common one of course being RP cards. Just go into Loot Boy, buy some loot packs, and you have a chance to redeem for a decent gift such as a $20 RP card. These cards can range from $5 to $100 in value. Once you get the card, just click to redeem the code, go into Riot's client, enter that code in, and you get your RP. If you're not looking for more RP because League's a little too addictive, you can buy Steam packs to give you gift cards or even codes that allow you to play Steam games that you've never tried before. Loot Boy also allows you to collect coins for packs by reading the weekly comics on their site. These comics come out on a regular basis and feature silly little stories with action-packed adventure. Loot Boy is available on Android, iOS, or PC, and you can try it today with my link in the description. Get Loot Boy today for their Black Friday bonus deal for guaranteed loot and diamonds. This is Lee Sin. He is the most popular and iconic jungler in League of Legends. This champion is flashy, fun, and mechanically difficult to pull off. Lee Sin's most well-known combo is the Insec. Mechanically speaking, this move is very hard to do, but why do we call it the Insec? Choi In-seok was once considered one of the best junglers in the world, and the first time he did this in an all-star game on the world stage, it completely changed the way people saw the champion Lee Sin.
When Insect comes in behind Yellow Feet, cues in, wards back, kicks in. That is so hard to execute, even though Europe tried to...
Did you hear what he said? This is so hard to execute. Because back then, it was really considered hard to execute. Let's take a look at an Insect clip from this season. This one isn't done by a pro player. It's not done by an up-and-coming all-star. This play was done by a Gold Elo Lee Sin main. Gold Elo is only considered slightly above average. It's not considered great. It's not considered bad. It's just okay. You can actually purchase gold accounts today for roughly around $20. And $20 is the perfect metaphor for a gold player. You're not mad that you have a $20 bill, but it's not going to blow you away. But even now, $20 players can consistently and cleanly perform a mechanic that was considered godlike back in Season 2. And if you look at the combo that the gold player pulled off, it is considerably more difficult than the insect that was originally performed. Players that are just okay are better than the pro players that we had yesterday.
That's all I'm just saying, but if this guy is any lower than this, he's smurfing.
Gold free.
This guy's smurfing. For sure, it's a smurf. If it's not, this guy can OPG, like, can tag me on Twitter as soon as he sees this video, prove to me that he's not a smurf, and he can join Fnatic next year as the new TF1 trick for mid lane.
Many players will take a break from League of Legends, and understandably so. But whenever they come back, they always complain about how it's so hard to climb now, how the game just feels so different or difficult compared to when they used to be playing. And a lot of these people are probably just complaining because they're not as good as they think they are. And this is just circumstantial evidence. They're just testimonials, don't really mean anything. But what does the statistics say about player skill over the years? In the past, I've made different videos outlining the different things that show how to improve your game and which statistics actually are a marker for better skill. There are a few commonalities when it comes to stats for higher ranking players. Certain stats like vision and objective score tend to come up, while other stats like kills and deaths and game time tend to come down. Here's the real problem with looking at just statistics. Raw statistics are really hard to judge season to season. This is because very big mechanics tend to be changed every single year within League of Legends. Back in Season 2, you could have 60 minutes in a pro game. Today, that pretty much never happens. Riot intentionally added mechanics like Elder Dragon to prevent stalling. You can't really say players are better today just because game time has come down. When it comes to vision score, Season 2 supports didn't have support items or trinkets. Every time you placed a ward down, whether it was a regular ward or a vision ward, you had to buy it. You had to spend your own hard-earned gold and what little gold you had as a support to continuously purchase vision for your team. So of course vision score and wards placed has gone up because wards are basically free now. And when it comes to kills and deaths, pro players are definitely dying a lot less than they used to in the earlier seasons. But this statistic also changes season to season based on the meta that we're currently in. If we're in an assassin and bruiser heavy meta, then 1v1s and assassinations tend to be more common, while 5v5s just tend to be team fights. The one stat that remains consistent throughout the entire history of League of Legends is farm. While the stats of minions and how much gold they give you has changed over the years, the actual number of minions per game hasn't actually changed at all. Let's go back to Season 2, when League of Legends was really starting to grow into the dominant esport that it is today. This was the grand finals that was played that year. Let's take a look at the scoreboard at the 30-minute mark. The top laners, one has 160 CS, while the other has 210 CS. Anivia, a farming mid laner, has the highest CS in the game, but only hitting about 290. While Karthus, another farming mid laner, is only hitting 240. Both AD carries are not even going above 230. We're gonna ignore the junglers for now because back in Season 2, ganking was a lot more rewarding and farming wasn't quite as advantageous or punishing if you didn't do it. So let's compare these numbers to this year's World Champions. This is T1 versus DRX Game 2, a close game with no clear winner. Look at the CS totals. They are just higher across every single champion in the game. One laner even has 337 CS. In just about every single game of professional League of Legends, you can expect at least one person in the game to have above 10 CS per minute. Not every player is going to be able to hit that every game, of course, since one side is usually winning and the losing side won't be able to farm as often. But if you just compare the CS totals of these two teams, the gap is just massive. If you were only hitting 230 CS at 30 minutes today as an AD carry, you'd be hard-pressed to make it into Master Tier, let alone a World Championship. This isn't really any different for regular players. Everyone from Bronze to Challenger has gotten better at this game. This is a really unique problem that only Riot is going to be facing, an ever-rising skill ceiling. Most of the people that play League of Legends today have been playing it for years, and while that's great for Riot Games, that's not very good for new players. Because every single year, the player base gets incrementally one step better. And that's reflected in the stats today. One of the biggest things that new players are told to do in order to improve is to learn how to farm better. Go into a practice tool and farm minions. Well, based on the stats, they've been doing that for about 10 years. Did you know that Plat players actually have the highest amount of CS by the end of a game? Platinum players are by no means bad at farming. In fact, every single rank you go up from Platinum, the CS numbers actually come down. This is because the higher elo you go, the shorter games you will tend to have, and you have less time in general to farm. When it comes down to the basics, farming, macro, champion mechanics, these are all kind of prerequisites now for being decent at the game. No one expected League of Legends to last this long, and no one expected that you could take esports to the level that it is at today. Another one of my favorite games that we can compare this longevity to is Smash Bros. Gone are the days where you could just pick up a controller and join a local tournament and do okay. You want to play online against other people? You'll be up against guys who can edge guard, tech, DI, AC, chain grab, juggle, and string together a perfect combo of dares, nairs, and bears. And that is just the basic shit. Riot has stated many times that they want League of Legends to be a generational game. They want this game to last 100 years. Well, we're only a decade in, and players have gotten so much better already. What will be the requirements of a gold player in 100 years? Do I have to be able to play at a challenger level of every single role? Are we gonna need a Season 3 Faker emulator just to be able to hit silver? Who knows? This is a long-term challenge that only really Riot is going to be facing, because only Riot is trying to take one single game to last 100 years. Other competitive games like Smash and Overwatch, they will take their games and release sequels or new titles and change fundamental aspects of their game, like how many players actually exist within each team. And while League definitely has its share of big balance updates and new mechanics added to the game, there are still just fundamentals that will never go away. Unlike physical sports, we have no proof that esports athletes degrade with age. Many of the recent world finalists were veterans that had been playing this game since the very beginning. How much is a new player going to actually want to try League of Legends if they need to become yesterday's pro player in order to become tomorrow's gold player? But you know what the one thing that's really making it hard for new people to come into League of Legends? How much League of Legends there actually is. I started playing League back in 2012, and that season it felt like a new champion was being released every other week, and that's because it was. In 2012, Riot dropped 19 new champions into League of Legends. The year that League officially released, they dropped 24. This year, we're about to have 5, and that's considered a lot. This is because Riot knows something that I'm about to tell you. Content overload is bad. You cannot have a game that has 1,000 champions. People are just never going to try it. You would need a PhD just to be able to finish their tutorial. Have you ever heard of the show called One Piece? It's my favorite show, period. Like, I love this show to death. It's been like the #1 selling manga for the last 20 years, and I try to get a lot of people into it. The main problem is that One Piece has over 1,000 chapters. People don't care how good the product is. They don't want to hear it. As soon as they hear that big word, that big number, 1,000, they go, fuck that. I'm not dedicating an entire phase of my life for this one single hobby. But One Piece, totally worth your adolescence. Highly recommend. Look, maybe Riot will change things. Maybe they'll start deleting champions. Please start with this one. Maybe they'll continue reworking champions until the end of time. Whatever the case is, there will come a day when Riot can no longer, in good conscience, release another champion because League is too freaking complicated. Maybe they'll stop at 500, maybe they'll stop at 1,000, maybe they'll stop at 10,000. Whatever the case is, there is a stopgap number for when players go, holy shit, Riot, we have too many fucking champions. But Riot needs new content. New content brings old players back into the game and current players more engaged. How are you going to get players invested if you can no longer drop new things into your game? Maybe simple balance changes like runes, objectives, and items will be enough to keep players engaged and feel like the game is still fresh. But the real problem isn't the game balance, it's actually the skins. As I discussed in my documentary about skins, Riot has been facing clarity issues for some time now. Back in the old days, skins were cheap and simple. They were basically just a recolored chroma for a simple $5 skin. But as League grew and technology got better, skins became better and better. Today's $15 skins are arguably better than yesterday's $30 skins. And as the years go by, Riot's skin team will continue to want to push the boundaries and breaking into new levels of art. Not just to sell more products, but because the fans will expect them to do so. Here's the problem, skins are already a little bit too flashy. They have too many effects, too many particles, too many nonsense. It's a well-known fact that pro players actually turn off additional skin effects because they're too distracting to their game and they play worse. Many of the most expensive and coolest skins in the game are actually pay to lose. And as everybody knows, certain champions are just more popular than others. Lux, for example, has 13 different looks, including her base model. It just makes more sense from a business perspective to drop an additional Lux skin rather than make any effort on a Skarner skin. But how many of these Lux skins can you really make? How many skins can one Lux main really own? At what point do Lux players go, you know what? I own 5,000 Lux skins. I can shoot Lux's laser in every single known color to the human spectrum. I think I'm gonna skip this one. People have already been complaining that they can no longer recognize champions in their new skins. We've already discussed how much information you have to absorb in order to just understand the mechanics of League of Legends. Now imagine how many more future skins you're going to have to memorize to know which champions are which. Every time they put in a new skin, that's a new piece of information that somebody might have to learn if that skin is too complex. Now, these issues are far into the future, and Riot is aware of these problems. That's why they've been releasing less champions every single year. For now, League of Legends is still massively profitable and the world's #1 esport. But becoming #1 faces its own unique challenges that nobody else has ever faced before. I have no doubt that Riot will try to solve this problem somehow. The issue is that I don't really think that there's a good solution to this issue. League needs to continue dropping new content in order to get people invested. But the more content they drop, the heavier the game feels. So while every other gaming company in the world is looking at Riot going, fuck, how can we be more like Riot? Riot is looking at themselves and going, fuck, what are we gonna look like in 50 years?